Hey, hello and welcome to my channel. I am that NEMT girl, and today we're going to be getting into the very first video here on my channel. Thank you for joining me. The video today is going to be about how I got started in business, where we are now, myself and my team, how we scaled a bit, and answering a few questions that I've received along the way that everyone is curious about on how to get started. So let's go. Okay, so before we start and get into how business started and where we are now, let's just talk a little bit about the background story, right? We are located in Atlanta, Georgia. We have been in business for 3 years. I relocated down to Atlanta 4 years ago from Baltimore. Originally, I'm from Petersburg, Virginia. My mom, she got a job teaching in DC. So when I was 15, we moved to PG County, Maryland. And then I went to Morgan State in Baltimore, and I stayed there for almost 10 years. I took a year off, and then I went back to get my master's. And after I finished school there, I said, well, you know what? I think I'm ready to go. And so literally I packed up and just moved. I had been saving money to start a vending machine business, but I knew I didn't want to stay in Baltimore. I was saving this money. I wanted to start a business, but something in me was like, do you really want to stay here after you finish grad school, right? And so I was working in property management at the time, and I'm good for getting fired from a job. I tell you, I'm good for getting fired from a job. I had just graduated my master's. Me and my homegirls, we went out to Jamaica to celebrate. I got back. I was just feeling myself. Vacation, just got my master. I was hot, I felt that way anyway. I got into it with the resident and ended up losing my job. I didn't want to look for another job in Baltimore. I was like, it's time to go. I took that as my sign, like, ooh, it's time to go. That summer, I rocked out because this was end of May, beginning of June 2018. And so I rocked out for the summer. That October, I ended up moving down to Atlanta. I didn't know I was going to start a business in transportation whatsoever. The way that came about, I got a job as a property manager at a senior citizen apartment complex. And I would just see my residents sitting downstairs waiting for a ride. And so I was very curious as to what they were waiting for so long, because they would be sitting downstairs for hours. And when I would ask them, they would just say, waiting on my ride. And I'm like, okay. They would be in a wheelchair and the van would pull up. It was like a soccer mom type of van, a larger style, but essentially a soccer mom van, and it would have a ramp. Typically in the back. Me not being knowledgeable on the industry, not even knowing what NEMT was, I just always thought that someone in a wheelchair had to get the lift that lifts them up, or some ambulance. I guess I didn't consider everyday people that need to get to their doctor's appointments that aren't in the need for an ambulance. You know what I mean? So that was new for me at that time. So I hated my job. I hated it. At the time, I was a property manager. I was the only person that worked in the office, and then we had a maintenance guy, and that was it, So it was very stressful. It was very much a distressed property, as they would categorize it. So needless to say, I used a lot of my time to research this industry. I learned to know what this industry was because one day I'm looking out the window, and a van pulls up and it says NEMT, non-emergency medical transportation. And I said, okay, let me look this up. Let me see what this is. I'll take my time at work to do research on my business. And needless to say, I ended up getting fired from that job as well. Okay, I said we have a good track record of getting fired. But anywho, I got fired from that job because I wasn't doing my paperwork and my reports on time, and they needed somebody that could really come in and clean the paperwork up because, as I said, it was a distressed property, but it was just too much for one person, for me. So, chuck the deuces on that. Or maybe they chuck the deuces on me because I got fired. But, anywho, I took that as a sign, again, like, time to start this business. And I had been saving money up again since I had moved down to Atlanta to start a business. I just didn't know what I was saving money for. So I'm fired, right? I had done some research. I just said, you know what? I'm going to take this money and I'm going to go buy a van. And my first van that I bought was a 15-passenger Ford Transit Sprinter van. We're gonna get into that video for another day in terms of the do's and don'ts of starting your business. But let's just say we just started. Initially, you know, I didn't know how to get the contracts with NEMT. I had this van, I had this car note, I had this insurance that I was paying for this new van. So I had to make some money, pretty much. So we started doing entertainment transportation, and at this point, I keep saying we, but it was just me. I had my friends that were helping me post flyers on the doors, going door to door to senior citizen apartment complexes, and I do not recommend you to do that. Again, we're gonna have a video, the do's and the don'ts. We're going around and marketing the business and getting these clients to come to the casinos with us while I'm learning how to get the NEMT contracts. I joined the Facebook group. I'll post the link down below because anyone who is thinking about getting into this industry or is beginning in this industry, and if you're not a part of this Facebook group, you definitely should join it because it's very informative. Anywho, I got into this Facebook group and there were a lot of people in Atlanta that were having the same questions in terms of how to get contracts, how to get your insurance, how to hire drivers, things of that sort. Every state has different requirements and different qualifications. So it's very important to know what your state requires. You can be in contact with someone that is doing the same thing or starting the same thing that you are, but if you're in one state and they're in another, you still have to do your own research because the rules and laws are different. Fast forward, all of the people in Atlanta, we got together on the Facebook group and we had a meetup in person at a hotel conference room. It was there that I met a woman, and she was, to my knowledge, very knowledgeable, you know, on the industry for what I needed at that time. Top of 2020. Yes, the top of 2020 at this time. At this time, you know, it's the pandemic, so things were changing. A lot of the casinos and entertainment places that we were transporting clients to were shutting down. So we really had to focus on NEMT industry and not just the entertainment transportation. I met this woman who had been in the industry for a while, and she was very knowledgeable. She was willing to share the knowledge with me, and it helped me to get the contracts with NEMT. Yes, so that was a blessing because, again, you know, I had started this business. I had this car note. I didn't have the contracts that I needed, and I didn't know, you know, how to get them. So it was a blessing for sure, and I was forever appreciative of that. So yeah, that's a snippet. You know, I'm trying not to bore you all or be long-winded with this, but that's a snippet of how I got started in this industry. And so a lot of people always ask me, well, if you didn't know you were going to start this business and you didn't know what it was that you were saving money for, why did you even want to be a business owner in the first place? I am a book author as well, and this is my book, TinderWounds, and I speak a lot about my reasons for becoming a business owner through my life story in this book here. If you don't own something, regardless of how hard you work for it, I don't care if you went to get your doctorate, okay? If you don't own something, anything can always be taken away from you, you know? So for me, through the situations that I put myself in with this, it was definitely one of those things where it opened my eyes. You know, I was in college at the time and I have my master's, you know, but it was one of those things where I went through a lot. And I'm a firm advocate and firm believer where you have to have ownership in something. I don't care if it's your house. I don't care if it's a business. I don't care if it's your side hustle that you turn into your main stream of income. Something. You have to own something because if not, it can always be taken away from you. So with that being said, you know, I knew from that situation that I had to own something. But I didn't know it was going to be an NEMT business. Again, I was saving money for a vending machine business, y'all. When people ask me, you know, well, how did you get into it? It really fell in my lap. You know, I was looking, and not like it was easy by far, or it is easy by far, but the concept and the idea literally fell in my lap because of my residents that I was working with and that I was serving at that time. Okay, so from time to time, as we go further in this video, you will see me refer to my little book, as I have my questions written down here in terms of the things I want to stay on topic about. So moving right along, a lot of people ask me how much money did I start this business with. I will say I wish I had started with a little bit more. Had I not just done it the way that I did it, then I probably would have overthought myself out of the idea. I think that we as people in general have that fear, you know, just constant overthinking, you know. So with that being said, I did start my business with roughly almost $8,000. Now mind you, that wasn't a lot, okay, at all, because I got a car, I got a van that I had to finance, so it wasn't that I bought the van outright. So I have the overhead each month for the car note, right? And then I have the insurance. Aside from that, I got fired. So I'm not making any money, you know. At this point, if I don't get out there every day and drive somewhere, I ain't paying my rent. That's not a negotiable, okay? That's not negotiable. And again, it was just me. Thank God I didn't have other people depending on me at that time, because that's a different type of pressure. But I just was out there. Again, we're going to have a video about the do's and don'ts. At that time, that's when I said, okay, well, I don't know how to get the NEMT contract, so that's how I moved into the direction of doing the casino transportation. We were taking clients to the casinos in Alabama and North Carolina, because there are no casinos here in Georgia. So I was doing transportation mainly for senior citizens in Atlanta and around the surrounding counties of Atlanta to get to the casino. A lot of clients didn't have their own vehicle, or they don't drive, you know, so that was more of a convenience for them to be able to get picked up from their home and dropped back off at their home. I served them, we had like the cold cut sandwiches, and they also received chips, a soda. I also had gotten a partnership with a couple of the casinos. They gave them a $20 or $25 free play card to play once they got there. They had a really good deal. I will be honest, we weren't that profitable at the time, because I was charging people $40 to get them these trips. So it was very important, you know, once I did figure out, baby, you ain't making no money for real, okay? But you live and you learn. Okay, so the next question is, how long did it take me to see profit? In realistic time, it took about a year, anywhere between a year to 14 months. The first 8 months we were doing entertainment transportation. Eventually I did hire a driver to assist me with the casino trips, where I was able to let her go ahead and do the trips every Saturday, and I was able to sit back and get a lot of the paperwork done. So that worked out well. But at the top of 2020, that's when the pandemic hit, so you weren't able to go to the casinos. I really had to focus on, okay, how are we gonna grow this NEMT side? So after the first 8 months is when I met the woman that I was telling you all about earlier, and I was able to get the contract within about 2 months of me meeting her. Depending on the contract that you have, it's gonna be a payout of a net something, meaning you perform the services on this day, but whatever your contract terms are, you're not going to get paid until those days later. It may have been a net 30, a net 45, and I'm not getting paid 30 to 45 days until that money is recouped. Now I will say, I did things the hard way, and I'm also by myself. If I had a teammate or, you know, a partner, then it may have run a little bit faster, but I'm not discrediting myself, or, you know, I'm not upset with that, because I am very appreciative of the lessons that doing it the hard way taught me. You know, I'm very knowledgeable in a lot of things now because of that. So a win is a win either way for me. The next question is, when did you know it was time to hire? I knew it was time to hire when I was behind the wheel and I was very stressed trying to answer the phone, trying to make sure I have my schedule right for the next day, trying to make sure that the clients have been contacted and they have been confirmed for the next day. It was just a lot. You know, it's a lot being one person. I knew it was time to hire when all I did all day was business. From the time that I would wake up to the time that I would go to sleep, it was just business, and it was very miserable. And also, it's not safe. It's not healthy for you either, because imagine being on the road and you're tired and you start to doze off. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for your clients. It's not safe for your business reputation. It's just not safe. You know, so I knew it was time for me to hire when it got to that point, and I was so glad that I did that, because I was able to more so work on the business, which is what you're supposed to be doing as a business owner, and versus working in the business. Okay, so a lot of people ask me as well, how profitable is this business? And I'm going to post a link to an article below, because there is an article that just came out recently in terms of the expectation for the NEMT industry over the next 6 years in terms of how it's going to grow. So it's very, very profitable. However, I will say, now that I've been in business for 3 years and we've done a lot of do's and a lot of don'ts, I can honestly say this business is at least, if you're doing it right, you can do at least $500K a year. Now, when I say $500K a year, Okay, that's $500,000, right? There are a lot of factors that go into that. It depends on how many vehicles you have. It depends on the level of service that you're offering. Are you giving just ambulatory rides? Are you giving wheelchair rides? Are you giving stretcher rides? Are you just strictly doing broker pay? Are you doing private pay? Are you doing broker and private pay? Do you have contracts with private facilities? All of those variations play a factor into that. And throughout the journey of this channel, we're going to get into all of that because it's very important. It's just a lot to digest in one video. I have a lot more things that I'm working on for everyone to learn how to get into this industry because, again, I just feel that everyone should be an owner of something. You know, I'm not saying go hard and stress yourself out. And no, I'm not saying to do that. But before you leave this earth, you need to own something. I believe that NEMT is a great industry for you to start another business. A lot of people have goals of not just starting one business, but starting multiple businesses. Well, my saying and my motto in life, if it ain't broke, don't break it. You know, so if you can have a profitable and a successful non-emergency medical transportation business, then why can't you have a profitable and successful home health care business? Where you have CNAs that are going to do in-person or in-home care for the seniors or the disabled. You can do DME, which is durable medical equipment delivery. You will be doing delivering stretchers and wheelchairs and things like that to clients who may not be able to get out and pick those items up. You know, post-COVID, there are a lot of clients that, you know, don't have that luxury of being even able to get out to get their own items. And that was definitely brought to the forefront to the top of the tier during the pandemic, you know. So there are a lot of other avenues that you can go into once you start your non-emergency medical transportation business. You can go into specimen delivery. You know, you're delivering urine samples and blood samples to different clinics. Okay, so the next point that I want to touch on is continuing through the challenges. When you get into this industry, there are going to be challenges. It's a very niche field, you know. It's changing rapidly. It's changing each month, each day, each year. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure because of that, that you're keeping up with the industry trends. There are going to be some times when you feel like your business is killing it, like you're just going, you're just doing it, you're doing everything right, you're hitting all the points, all your goals, boom, boom, boom. Great, rooting for you. But there are going to be some days where you're just like, I don't know what is going on. You have to keep up and keep going through the challenges. You have to. You will never get to see what the outcome is going to be if you quit. And it's so easy to quit. It's so easy to quit. Please don't. Whatever issues or concerns that you're having, whether you're just getting started, whether you've gotten started and you don't know which direction to go, whether you are literally just writing your business plan, whatever. If you need some help or some insight or something, please hit me up in the comments because we are a community here. I see a lot of people, you know, doing a lot more coaching and e-learning here for NEMT, and I think that's great because when I was starting, there wasn't that. I literally had to go and search and find somebody to help me with this, you know, and work out our own partnership where, you know, I can get what I needed and I can also help her with what she needed at the time that I was able to help with, you know. So it's definitely one of those things that is great to see this type of content being created now, but it's still one of those things where don't hide the information, you know, and don't feel that you can't ask for that help because you're going to need help along the way. It's going to get challenging. You need to feel motivated. You may be unsure of yourself. That's all natural and it happens to all of us. Trust me, on whatever level you're on, it still happens. So keep going through the challenges. Don't get so flustered where you feel like you're going to quit. Please don't quit. Please don't. So my final topic that I want to touch on is knowing when to scale. And this is really going to be for a separate video. I just want to touch on when I knew it was time to scale. And we're still in our scaling phases. Like I said, we're in year 3, so we're still new ourselves. You know, the baby is still being birthed and nurtured. But I will honestly say I knew it was time to scale. Even when I had a team of drivers, I knew it was time to scale in terms of getting dispatchers, in terms of getting the routing software, in terms of getting more vehicles. I knew it was time for us to scale when we were starting to not meet our benchmarks of making sure that each client is getting picked up because we're overbooking. Making sure that we have enough vehicles to pick up everyone. Okay, well, we have the profit to go ahead and pour more into the business. Let's go ahead and get more vehicles. Keeping up with our drivers on the road. You know, you can't keep calling somebody on a cell phone. It gets redundant, especially when they're on the road and trying to get a hold of their clients, or, you know, get a hold of the dispatchers or management team, you know, so no one to get radios. All those things are a part of scaling. And so it's very important to know when you're able to do that and when it's time to do that. Customer service is definitely the top priority, so you want to make sure that you're not missing any client, missing phone calls, missing confirmations for rides. But how can you make sure that you're making every call if it's just one or two people? You have to have a dispatcher or someone else to take these calls when you as the business owner or you as the manager cannot do it. Because why? There should be things that you're working on to grow the business. And by things that you should be working on, I mean in terms of looking for grants, building the business's business credit, monitoring your driver's time, making sure you're staying within your budget for the month, making sure you're hitting your goals for sales for that day. Okay, well, we're not hitting it this week. What else do I need to do to make sure that we can get some clients from over here or get some things going from over here so that we make sure that we don't fall below our budget this week? Those are the things that you should be doing as a business owner. And when you're not able to do that because you're behind the wheel, because you're constantly on the phone, because you're constantly directing the drivers or confirming things with clients, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's very important that to know when it is time to scale, because you don't want to burn yourself out. In order for you to be an effective leader and to be an effective example for your team, you have to always keep it intact. Okay, with that being said, I pray that I have given you all some gems for the day. I hope that we have gotten some insight on, you know, how I got started with my business. I have many more things to talk about. Trust me, this book right here is filled with a lot of topics I want to touch on with you all, because I feel like it's important to get this type of insight. You know, I'm going to give it to you all real. I'm going to let you know the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, you know, all of the above. So as we learn together and as we grow together and I share these gems with you all, whether you're thinking about getting started, whether you're just getting started, whether you're in it and you need some confirmation, some affirmations, a little bit more direction on where to go, hey, I'm here. Please leave your comments below if you have any questions. I definitely give feedback in the comments. If it's something deeper, we can set up a call. But yes, please drop them below. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye.